So let's take a look at one of those thorny issues that have actually been driving conversations online and even face-to-face conversations that people have been having very recently. And of course, the House of Representatives and the Senate have also weighed in on the matter. Just maybe the federal government should look at the option of selling some of its oil and gas assets. Particularly, they're talking about the Nigeria liquefied natural gas. Now, as a side, yesterday the conversation between Bosun and I was that maybe the federal government should do a partial sale. But let's get Dellacqua, who's actually in the system. He talks to most of these oil and gas firms. Let's get to find out what their side of the story is. Dellacqua, thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful Friday morning. It's great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, Dellacqua, let's quickly get you to weigh in on that. What do you think? What has the chatter been with regards this? This conversations about the federal government should sell some oil assets, particular emphasis on the Nigeria liquefied natural gas.
Well, we clearly know that Nigeria is having a cash crunch. And what that means essentially is the fact that the sole source of revenue or the major source of revenue for the government has not been performing as it should. So, and that's key for us because of dollars. It's also the major earner of dollars for us. So what the government is looking to do essentially with this asset sale is to raise some dollars. I think the idea typically would be to sell to foreign investors and to get them to, bring some tangible amount of dollars. I think the target is about some $25–30 billion. That's what the target is, from various assets, not just the NLNG. Now, the reason of the NLNG is because, again, when you look at Nigeria, and as a foreign investor looking at Nigeria's various assets, I think one of the most attractive, and I do say the most attractive, is the NLNG. If you look at the JV, it's the best functioning JV in Nigeria. It's has one of the best funding structures, very good shareholding arrangement. The shareholders are also very notable companies alongside the NNPC. And then in terms of how it has performed over the last few years, at several occasions, two in the last 2 years, it has come to the rescue of the country with its dividend payments, so it's quite an attractive asset. The question is, should Nigeria be thinking of selling part of it or all of it? In my view, maybe they could reduce their portion a bit, but definitely not selling all of it. We still need to be in there, and it's key for us to retain the assets.
But, Dellacqua, I'm very glad you mentioned that this is one of the most successful joint ventures that Nigeria has actually had. So what impression, what do you think what message do you think this will send out to other prospective customers, investors into the oil and gas, that about whatever it is about all of this that the federal government is actually planning to do?
Well, there's a tendency that, yes, it may be seen a bit as being a bit desperate, in the sense that we are pressed for cash, and we have no choice but to sell our expensive or our best assets. But to be fair also as well, you don't expect investors to buy assets that they don't see as lucrative or profitable. They also want to part with their cash only to get good returns. So if they're looking at assets that can give them those kind of returns, I think NLNG will be one of those assets that they'll be looking at. The question is, again, NLNG is one of the assets that we've been saying by now we should be thinking of Train 7. We should be thinking of ways to expand performance there, gas supply to the NLNG. So putting it on the pound for sale, I'm sure investors will also be asking, look, if I'm giving you this money, I want you to also commit part of it to Train 7 to ensure that, my returns from this investment will be increasing. So I think it's a bit of a balance. There's some aspect of the fact that it's a profitable asset, that's why it's on the market. But the question is, it's also a bit of the situation where we find ourselves, because we have no other real attractive assets that investors may be looking at. There are others, but not as attractive as NLNG.
So, for Dellacqua, is that the general consensus now in the industry?
If you talk to players in the industry, they'll tell you to not touch NLNG. They'll tell you to don't even touch it, because think about it. It's again, don't forget there's a shareholder agreement. So even if we were trying to sell, we can only sell to the existing shareholders, the IOCs that are already shareholders. And then, of course, that's a right that can also be waived if they don't have any appetite for it, but they'll have the first refusal. But if you talk to most people, they're like, look, if this thing is performing so well, why should you sell or reduce? You should be thinking of increasing your stake, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. If we reduce our stake by, say, another 15%, we currently own 45%, we take it down to 30%, it won't make us any less than any of the other shareholders who are there, who also all own smaller stakes, 25% here, 17% there, 10% there. So we're still, by and large, still the largest shareholder. So, and that would give us some amount of cash, because the NLNG itself still has a significant valuation. I can't remember the exact figure, but it's still in a good region of 3-digit billions, so which could give us a tangible amount if we sell 10% of it.
So, Dellacqua, we're looking for plenty of money at the moment, and we are seriously in a cash crunch situation. Bring us to speed about ongoing conversations on the federal government suing IOCs over alleged stolen crude, It's been in the news for most of the year, but all of a sudden we're quiet about it. Where are we at the moment with it?
Yeah, we're having that discussion, and in fact, I think it has progressed to a legal battle already. There's already a case in court, in the Federal High Court of Lagos, against 5 of the IOCs, and I mean Chevron, Total, Ajib, I think about 3 of the IOCs, and it's quite a bit of a complicated situation, to be fair, to both sides. I think what the government is pointing at is the fact that the ships record a lower figure at the port of discharge here in Nigeria, at the port of unloading here in Nigeria, and then when they get to America or wherever they are discharging, they report a higher figure. So there's that disparity between the amount loaded and the amount discharged. It seems as if they are not declaring the full figure when they load here in Nigeria. That's one side. And this is coming because, again, federal government is really looking to get money. So we're looking back into various contracts. We're looking back, we're reviewing our PSCs, don't forget. We're also looking back to see if they've met up with all their tax payments. We're looking to see if they've loaded crude they shouldn't have loaded. So that's where all of this is coming from. But at the same time, we also have cash calls to pay to these oil and gas companies for projects that have been approved that we've not paid our own portion, or projects that they are also considering that they've not been able to take FID on. So there's that added complication to this whole dynamic. I think it's going to be an interesting discussion going forward.
But then the tough choices really have to be made. And how should these conversations continue to go? Who should weigh in at the moment? Should the federal government self-pedal? Even though, yes, the matter has already gone to court. But, based on all the issues that you've actually listed, it really seems as if it has to come out to be a win-win situation. But how?
Yeah, it has to be. Exactly. That's where... That's really what I'm driving at. Because, again, don't forget, we're encouraging these guys to also invest in the deep water. We're encouraging them that, look, we're going to try and pass the PIB so that you can invest and bring on more oil onshore for us, onstream for us. So at the same time, we don't want to push in such a way that we know that we are owing them some cash call, but at the same time, they are also owing us some money in terms of crude they've lifted, which they shouldn't have lifted. So there has to be a very flexible approach in this negotiation, a very flexible approach. Just an aside, I was talking to a contact in one of the companies, and I said, look, how are you guys approaching this? And he was like, yeah, no problem. When they pay us, we'll net off. But, of course, that's just an aside. But essentially, I think it's the spirit behind it. There has to be some flexibility in these discussions. We want to go to court so that we make everything legal and we make everything structured properly. But at the same time, we also want to ensure that we recognize that these are companies that are well vested in Nigeria, that have invested a lot over the last 2 years, and at the same time, we want to encourage them to keep on investing. So we have to balance those two objectives. So,
Dellacqua, as we end the week and in our projections for next week, what are your expectations? We're seeing oil prices on the global market. Well, not looking too bad in the last couple of trading days. So what are your expectations?
Yeah, all eyes are currently on the OPEC informal meeting next week. Already we've had a secret meeting, not a public meeting, not secret anyway, but between Saudi Arabia and Iran, which was meant to be before that meeting next week. The idea was to get the two of them to talk so that we have an idea, they can reach some sort of agreement. We're not quite aware of how that discussion has gone yet. But everybody is saying, look, those two can never come to terms because those two are key to OPEC decision. Once the two of them are able to reach an agreement, I can guarantee you OPEC will get a decision next week to freeze the market. And if that freeze happens, it's possible that we could see 55, 56, much higher oil prices. But that meeting again comes out with a bad result and there's no decision. And they promise us, look, we're going to have more talks. I can guarantee oil prices are already heading downward because more oil is coming on the market. Nigeria, Libya, Ghana. I mean, so much oil is coming on the market over the next few weeks, which is going to depress prices.
Dellacqua, thank you so much for joining me on the program this morning and, of course, sharing your thoughts with us. Dellacqua is the head of energy research at EcoBank, and he joined us to give us quite an interesting perspective to all of the conversations going on with regards to the sale of the federal government's plans to sell oil and gas assets. But Business Morning continues in just a moment. We'll be talking about the legislature in just a bit. Stay with us.